Hi, welcome to the Hero Panel Podcast. I'm Caleb the Comic Book Viking.
And I'm Eli Smith.
And we are being brought to you right out of the Comic Bug here in Manhattan Beach, Los Angeles.
Woo!
How's it going, man?
Good.
Good. I am so excited. We are here talking about comics. We are talking about all the stuff that we love, the nerdy things that are so important to us.
Movies, TV shows, video games.
Yep.
Oh, man.
And Eli and I both work at the Comic Bug here in Los Angeles, and really our finger is on the pulse of this whole nerddom, fandom culture, and we love it so much. We just wanted to talk about it more, and we wanted to share our thoughts with you guys.
Yeah, so any input and feedback is important to us on this journey.
Yes.
You're a part of the journey with us.
We're just starting out. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about a little bit about our history with comics and sort of how we got into this world.
Love history.
Yeah.
Well, take it away, Caleb. How did you get into comic books?
So I have loved comics since I was a little kid, but I really started off with the shows, the animated series, and I remember going to Blockbuster, different video rental stores, finding VHS copies of the 90s Spider-Man show. Like, they had it in like box chunks of episodes that you could find. So you were only like watching maybe 4 or 5 episodes a time, but it was so cool. DVDs.
Or the toy store, remember? And sometimes in the checkout lines at Toys R Us, they would have a VHS section as you were checking out.
Yep. And then it went to DVD, and you were getting bonus features and stuff. So as a kid, I was watching these things, and I always loved dress up. I loved playing pretend. I dress up like Zorro, Spider-Man, Robin.
Every kid's got to have a Spider-Man costume.
It's part of the just growing up. It's life necessity.
My brother and I have a picture of us, and both of us had to be Spider-Man.
Yeah,
we both had to be, and it was funny because one of our masks was so worn out from like the threading that the eyepiece was just all falling apart.
It was like starting to like cry
from overuse. Yeah. Oh man.
But and so I grew up with these stories, reading what I could find. But as I got older, I really will credit the Ultimate Universe in the early 2000s. I believe just in 2000 itself. Brian Michael Bendis came out with Ultimate Spider-Man, and it showed up in my public library. Like, Ultimate Spider-Man, the trade paperback, was in the library, and that blew my mind because I remember hunting down, little pizza places that had racks of old comics, or, the Goodwill, trying to find boxes of old comics.
It's probably still in the library.
It probably is. It's so popular. But getting that, I remember hunting down every volume as it came out of Ultimate Spider-Man and reading it, and that was like the first comic series that I remember finishing, like going all the way through, having to know it all, because before that it was picking up a comic here, finding a little bit about a character there, reading the Marvel encyclopedia that we all had, the Marvel DC encyclopedia that we all had, watching the shows and stuff, and then I got into comics. Then I started just devouring as much as I could. And I will tell you this, Eli, it was the first book that I read that changed my perspective from, superheroes is kind of just fun. It's for younger. It's for kids. Like, I'm just enjoying it now.
Right.
When I got to be about, I believe, 16, 17, there was a book that came out called Silver Surfer Requiem.
Oh, okay.
By J. Michael Straczynski, and I believe it was Ribic that did the art for it. And the artwork and the story were so beautiful.
Wow. It just hit home.
So beautiful, and it was so poignant, and it's the story of the death of the Silver Surfer in an Elseworlds or alternate universe where he died.
Wow.
But it was just, look it up, please. I mean, like, if you're out there and you're listening, if you get a chance, find just the art from Silver Surfer Requiem. I think it's also on Marvel Unlimited.
Oh, for sure.
But do yourself a favor and look at this. I mean, every page feels like you could put it up on your wall as a piece of art.
Wow.
And the story itself was so moving and so poignant that, I admittedly cried many times reading that book. It was just a gorgeous talking about humanity and what that means and what it means to be alive and be human from this perspective of an alien. And that just changed my entire perspective of comics and what this medium could be and what it could do.
Yeah. And the Silver Surfer is just so cool.
Absolutely.
He's such an enigmatic character. And he was Silver Surfer was one of my older brother's favorite characters. And I remember being so young and finding a Silver Surfer action figure and being so confused.
Right.
I was like,
what is this guy?
I was like, what is this guy? And they didn't have the surfboard, of course. The
no,
surfboard was
silver
lost.
man. Yeah, just a silver guy.
You know, and that was once I found out he was silver. I didn't even know he was the Herald of Galactus.
Oh yeah, we're not even talking about the big guy back there.
There he is.
There he is back there in all of his glory. But yeah, that's kind of what got me into comics, and then it's just been a slippery slope from then on out, as I have just, as Galactus, consumed every piece of media that I could from then on out.
That's impressive, man.
Thank you. What about you? What got you into comics, and why are you why are you the way that you are?
Why am I? Yeah, it's an ongoing case study.
Sure.
I mean, really, it's a lot of the same roots. I feel like growing up in the 90s, there was that cartoon and superhero wave.
Batman Beyond,
the
Justice
stuff.
League Unlimited. There were so many cool.
For me, it was action figures.
Yeah.
It was first discovering action figures. I just mentioned my brothers. They had a ton of Marvel action figures and really just an assortment of all sorts of different guys. So that's how I started getting into it and playing with those.
It was tangible.
It was tangible, but I didn't know anything about them. And then I started watching cartoons. I started watching Batman the Animated Series.
Yes.
Started watching more Spider-Man. All that stuff on Fox Kids.
Oh, dude.
And whatever was within us, it just sparked.
It just
kept going. It just kept going and going. And
as we go, we will talk about why I think comics are so important culturally and why these stories actually sink down and permeate kind of the cynicism of a lot of the world and why they're important. But we'll get into that.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it was like there's also just the cool factor.
Yeah.
Of it all. Batman was cool.
Dude, he looked awesome.
He looked awesome. He was dark, gritty, and the art style from the animated series all just spoke to me.
Yeah.
And so that set me on course. And then my first major comic book that I had growing up was Calvin and Hobbes.
Oh, yes.
It was just, it hit home for me. My folks didn't really trust Marvel Comics at that time. They thought maybe it would be a little bit too beyond me, but Calvin and Hobbes just hit home. And I remember I started reading it at school, and one Christmas, my mom got me, I think, 5 of the collections.
The collected works,
And every night I would read that. And my imagination...
Spaceman Spiff.
I based my imagination and my imaginary play all around
Calvin
and Hobbes and the way he would do that. And so that really just generated, I think, a lot of my love for comic books. And then, later in life, going to school, going to the library.
Yep.
Finding those encyclopedias about Marvel characters and reading about everyone in Spider-Man's life. And
the internet was like really kind of coming into its own at that time too.
I didn't use it.
So like, well, I didn't use it. Like I was the most I can remember doing is like always going onto YouTube, and looking up like fan edits from all of like the early 2000s Marvel movie or like the 90s Marvel movies, the X-Men, Daredevil, like all of those movies. I would like. Anybody that made a music video with Breaking Benjamin and having Daredevil fighting, I was into it, man. I was...
it wouldn't be until we were talking about the Ultimate Universe as well. I remember it and being introduced to all these characters in a new light and being like, oh, this feels more modern.
I'm relating to it, which is hilarious now that the new Ultimate Universe is out in comics.
Right.
It really has done the same exact thing for a lot of people. Like we're reading it now in our 30s and looking at
keeping up with us.
And it's like, oh, this is a Peter Parker that and we'll get into that later. We'll talk about
because we're both family men.
We're both family men.
Yeah,
family guys.
Family guys,
as you would say.
Yeah.
But no, it's how these are relatable and how that you as you go through life, you find new things and. Comic books and fantasy and sci-fi have always been huge to me, and storytelling has been huge to me.
Sure.
Star Wars, was one of my first loves. My true heart of, I think, my nerddom is Lord of the Rings. Always will be. And I was blessed to be around people that also didn't look down on this stuff. And I would go over to my friend's house and we would just watch The Matrix and go and act out scenes in his backyard. Or he had lightsabers that he would take and paint with different colors, and he knew how to rotoscope back in like the early 2000s.
What?
So he was taking it on his computer and we have videos of us lightsaber fighting in his backyard with
That's awesome.
It sounds and looks like real lightsabers.
Yeah, we got to get one of those. We have to watch it.
I will do my best to hunt one down.
Yeah,
but
yeah. Star Wars is always huge. I feel like that was another movie for kids in our generation. my grandmother, I owe it to her for introducing me to those movies. She had those VHS tapes,
ones, yep.
And me and my cousins just beat the hell out of those things. We watched it over and over. The unedited versions. I mean, obviously these were the VHS.
Yeah, they're OGs.
Yeah, all of that. And so, you know, Star Wars was pretty big. Cool. And then the prequel trilogies came out when we were kids as well. And that just, you know, that just took me away. I wasn't, you know, there wasn't any issue with it in my mind when I saw
there was no
them.
criticism back then of that. It was
pod racing.
Get me in Darth there. Maul. Like, come on, man.
Double-bladed double-edged lightsabers.
Those Naboo starfighters were the coolest freaking things that I have seen.
Yeah, exactly. Ever. Oh my gosh, Droideka?
Yeah, that looked so badass.
Yeah, Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan trying to deflect it. They're just this isn't working.
Yeah, the first time you're seeing like the fluidity of Jedi movement and like at their peak. It's so cool.
Yeah, also the Force jump too. We were all like, what? They could do that?
Right. It's so cool.
Yeah.
But all of those things have
and then Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings as well. I mean, dude, so before that movie came out, I didn't know much about Lord of the Rings at all. Once it came onto my radar, my mom was like, oh, yeah, I read The Hobbit when I was a girl and all that, and the Lord of the Rings, and they wouldn't let me see The Fellowship of the Ring.
Really?
No. My parents were quite strict. This is why I didn't get access to a lot of things for a while. I had to find bits and pieces of it everywhere for a very long time. It wasn't until Two Towers came out that my mom finally was like, okay, you can watch The Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
When your brother goes to bed at night, I will come get you, and you can come downstairs. And she recorded them on a VHS tape so I could watch it that way. This is the same way I watched Titanic as well.
That's incredible.
That's
incredible.
My dad actually cut the scene out where Jack drives Rose on the couch. He cut it out of the VHS tape and stitched it back together.
Perfect.
And it never worked.
No.
But it was funny. So anyways, that's how I watched The Fellowship of the Ring. It was broken up almost like a TV series to me over the course of like 3 nights.
That's so cool.
That's how I watched The Lord of the Rings. And let me tell you, when I saw that movie, and I was watching it by myself, just downstairs, and it transformed.
It changed everything.
We were just obsessed after that for years and years and years and years and years. And now we find ourselves here, and Lord of the Rings is, you know, it's a memory.
It's a memory, but it's also, it's something that's treasured, and it's something that Lord of the Rings will never fade.
No,
it's really fun.
Yeah.
That being said, we are here at the Comic Bug, and we really want to talk to you guys about not just sort of the memories of what makes comics special, but also like what's coming up, what's new, why we should be excited right now for comics, and why we should be excited right now for these stories that are coming out, because we are, in my opinion, in a comic book renaissance.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, the fandom is huge. It's growing. There's more and more interest in these things, and as the movies and TV shows have been just introducing general audiences to these characters,
we finally kind of, and it's funny, the idea of that these have been going on for about, 15 years now, 10, 15 years, like really solidly. We have just begun to scratch the surface of the stories that are available to tell from these. I mean, there's 70 years of continuity here for some of these characters, and it's a gold mine.
And we can't just introduce, and they couldn't just introduce all the characters in one go. That's why, we're approaching all these major Avengers movies where we finally have multiple characters that have been introduced, and you don't have to know everything about everybody
to enjoy the fact that now you're seeing just these stories on a massive scale.
Right.
Because of, in terms of comic books, Infinity War was small potatoes. Comic book wise, there was the Civil War. Come on, these stories in the movies are just beginning to get to the point of
There's been a couple Infinity Wars,
to where and
there's been a couple Secret
Wars coming out. So starting off in the world of comics,
One World Under Doom.
Now,
the major Marvel event,
super big event right now that's coming out. It's a 12-issue run.
It's in the very beginning as well.
First issue just came out, I believe, 2 weeks ago. I haven't gotten a second issue yet. That first issue was incredible to me. Ryan North, his storytelling in that first issue is everything that I've wanted from a Doctor Doom heavily centric comic in so long. You'll get to know this about me. I am a huge Doctor Doom fan.
Big time.
I think he's one of the most. It is known. He's one of my favorite comic book characters. period. Not just as a villain, not just as a Marvel character, but overall in comics, I think he's one of the most interesting, complex, with the most depth of characters and storytelling that you can find in a character. That being said, one of his major goals in his existence is to rule the world. Not to, to dominate it or
everybody wants to rule the world.
He's not wanting to dominate it. In his mind, he wants to fix it. He wants to take the world, and
they always do.
They always think that, and it's his arrogance and his ego that makes him interesting. But in this story, he actually begins to do some things that I would argue are pretty good for the world. So we're seeing how the Avengers are reacting to that. We're seeing how the rest of the world is treating that. I'm intrigued. I think it's really fun.
Oh, yeah.
That is the tip of the iceberg.
Jeez.
Talk to me about the Absolute Universe right now, because DC is crushing it with the Absolute Universe.
So the Absolute Universe in DC is almost their answer to the Ultimate Universe in Marvel, which, and that's not something to be compared.
No, I really don't think it is. I think the concept of Elseworlds for DC has been around for a long time. Stories that are in different universes or different realities that are branched off from...
In Marvel, it's more commonly just known as the multiverse.
Multiverse. In DC, they call it Elseworlds. Yeah. Marvel did this back in the early 2000s with Ultimate Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, The Ultimates. And recently, they have brought it back under the helm of Jonathan Hickman, who's an incredible writer. And then DC quickly followed with their Absolute Universe.
Yeah, which has just been steamrolling. We have Absolute Batman, which is on issue number 5 now, and now we have Absolute Superman, Absolute Wonder Woman, and
coming up soon we have Absolute 3 more
this month.
Yeah, this month. We got Flash
and Martian Manhunter,
and then next month is Green Lantern.
Green Lantern.
Yeah,
yes.
We're doing Green Lantern, which
that's almost the Justice League put together.
We're real close. We're just missing our Aquaman, man.
Aquaman, and I guess maybe Cyborg.
Yeah, I mean, depending on how you bring Cyborg in. I've always been more of a fan of him in the Justice League. Weirdly enough, I love Teen Titans, but seeing him in the Justice League during the New 52 run was pretty special to me. I thought that was really cool. Absolute Batman, high octane, fun. Basically, the
character redesigns all around everybody.
The basic premise of the Absolute Universe, if you're not familiar, is Darkseid, the big villain Darkseid of the DC universe, kind of their the Thanos equivalent in Marvel, but Darkseid, I would say more.
They have the same build,
but they're very different.
Yeah.
Darkseid has created his own universe.
Yeah.
He's tired of losing to Superman. He's tired of losing to the heroes. So he built his own universe, and these characters,
understandably,
these characters now exist within that darker, a little bit more edgy universe, where Batman is not a billionaire.
No.
He doesn't have all of his money.
His rogues gallery, those are his childhood friends that he grew up with.
Yes. His mom, still alive.
Yep.
So there's a very different take on the character of Batman. Absolute Wonder Woman, my favorite book right now that's out of the Absolute series. Wonder Woman is this incredible fusion of Lovecraftian horror and Greek mythology, which I've always thought that suited her character.
And the main change for her story is that she was raised in hell.
Yeah, she was raised in the underworld. And her mother, her adopted mother, is her former, in the main comics, villain, Cersei.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so the sorceress Cersei is raised Wonder Woman, and it's this great story of, does your environment change who you are? Can you still be a good person and do the right thing even if you are raised in hell, in a horrible place?
Oh, yeah.
It's a great story. Absolutely love it. No pun intended.
No, I mean, it's a story that a lot of people can connect with.
Very much so.
Yeah.
One of the big reasons we want to do this podcast is because the world is dark. Mm-hmm. It is a scary place out there, and there are a lot of problems that feel too big.
Right, and this is an inclusive sort of zone where this is about sharing our love of comics and things that are good and things that are about hope and hope in humanity.
Yes,
and
the idea that this is a safe space for anyone. I argue all the time it drives me up the wall that comic book fandom does not feel like a safe place to people, and this is the most safe. These stories should be.
You can get scrutinized for liking something, just simply liking something, and it's things like that do not take place on this podcast.
Not on this podcast, and it shouldn't take place in the world of comic book fandom at all. Because if you read these stories, they are all about how you standing up to bullies, standing up against people that are oppressing people that are marginalized.
Which is so
or
strange
hurting.
because you'll meet these folks who read comics,
Yeah.
and they do.
Yeah,
you're talking, but somehow they
goes
don't get it.
right over their heads. That the point of these. Oh, anybody that tells me, these stories are too woke, these stories are too, they've changed. No, they haven't. No. Okay, comics from their get-go, have they always been perfect? No. But they have always pushed social change to be better. They've pushed us to be better. Comics are our modern mythology. They're our modern morality tales.
Yeah. And hundreds of years from now, when they look back on these books and they look back on these stories, they're going to find the lessons that were learned.
Yes. They're universal lessons.
They speak a lot to like what's happening in the real world today.
They really do.
Civil War, that entire storyline, there's...
Are we talking about... don't even get me started on the mutant, like the X-Men, right? This is a story that from its core, from its very beginning, has been about the oppression of the marginalized, has been about the horrible systemic problem in our world about the way we have treated people. And it's unacceptable. And, again, you will not find it on this podcast. We are all about making sure that this is a safe place for everybody. Not, we don't want to trigger anybody. We really don't want to talk about that stuff that's going on.
And we don't know everything.
We don't know everything. No. So, but what we do know is these stories and how important they are to us.
And we are passionate and we are bringing it to you. So again, any kind of thoughts, feedback, anything like that,
please.
We're looking for it right now.
Yep.
We want to grow this podcast for the people, for the community.
Yeah, and that is my biggest my hope for this, and just for myself in general, is to build community. Community is how we combat the darkness of the world.
Absolutely.
You can't change a government overnight. You can't change the world overnight, but you can be kind in your community, and you can build relationships in your community.
And another thought just to tack on as well is the whole point of storytelling, especially in the fictional world, not fiction too, but it's escapism to get out of there. When things aren't too intense, when you've been on the internet all day and you're seeing, your feed is showing you happy, negative, all this back and forth. Comics can provide a little bit of a grounding, which is funny to say because of how
it's an escape, but it's also kind of a refresh. It kind of hits you back to the simple nature of how reality maybe should be,
or people who can solve these problems.
Yes,
people who can actually
gives you a little bit of hope.
You can do something too. We all can do something as a community, but it's great when you see Superman or Batman or any of these characters take it to someone who,
really has been causing these problems.
Who's been really naughty.
Yeah. So I agree. I think that's a good way to look at it. And we'll talk. I mean, we're going to bring this podcast once a month. It's going to be a monthly podcast.
Yes.
But we'll be posting video clips and video portions of things throughout the month.
You'll see our shop a little bit.
Yeah, we want to show you the shop. We want to introduce you to some of the other staff here. Just kind of show you around, and like I said, build this community.
100%.
And show that there are really cool people doing really cool things right now in this industry.
Yeah,
because we want to interview. One of the big things that I want to do is interview local creators, up and coming writers, illustrators, writers, artists, people that have been working in this industry. We know them; they come into our store.
Shout out to the Sketchy Bug, which is a group that meets here at the Comic Bug, and they trade ideas, tips, and tricks.
Work
about
with
the
each
industry.
other, help encourage each other. It's awesome to see.
Yeah.
So we're going to bring people into the show. I already have some ideas. I've already talked to a couple people that they're excited about it. So you'll get to meet some new people that are in the industry, and we'll do that. So again, just community building, loving these stories, talking about this. And Eli, one of my favorite things about storytelling in general, it's the oldest human unifier. It's how we communicated truth to each other for years and years.
Even the cavemen,
and
tell their stories by drawing on the walls.
On the walls, everybody had to tell a story, and whether that was, "Hey, I caught a huge ox today."
Those are kind of the earliest comic books when you think about it.
Yeah, they really are.
Yeah.
But what it does best, and it goes back to our idea of inclusivity, it puts us in the shoes of someone else. It helps us see other people's perspectives.
Right.
And that is I think the most exciting thing that I've seen in comics
so
recently.
that way we can empathize. I mean, that's the biggest thing.
Empathize. Yeah. And that comic book writers and storytellers right now are so diverse. It is not just people that look like us writing comic books anymore.
Yeah.
It's
everybody.
It's everybody. Mm-hmm. And the more that you read, the more you see things from other perspectives, the better you are as a person, the more empathetic you can be, and honestly, the more you are being like the people in these books that are heroes.
Yeah, right. If you actually take their values and try to implement them in your daily life as well, I think you will notice a huge difference in your interactions with people.
And just your inner peace.
Yeah, and inner peace as well.
So, that being said, so many great things have come out this month and are coming up this year in the world of comics. We've talked a little bit about the Absolute Universe. We talked about Marvel big events that are coming up and the Ultimate Universe. Let's talk about the movies and TV shows. We are going to eat good as comic book fans.
Yeah, right now we had just witnessed the premiere of Daredevil Born Again.
Woo! Daredevil Born Again. Let's talk about that just for a second.
When we record these, we will be taking into account sort of that 1 week.
The 1 week of grace between spoilers of something.
But sometimes these episodes are going to come out later after the fact.
Sure.
So we're going to do our best to keep it in a frame of. We're going to talk about what people should have been able to see by now.
So let's talk about...
We'll also give a spoiler warning, too, so you can turn the volume down.
Sure. Or a timestamp where we can skip ahead.
Yeah.
But yeah, Daredevil, Born Again. We're back in a Daredevil story. It's in the MCU,
so
officially in the MCU. Mm-hmm. I loved the Netflix series so much.
It was good. It was arguably the best one that they had out of the bunch.
Absolutely, I agree. And I really liked a lot of them. The Netflix Defenders series, like the Defenders as the general concept of all of those characters, was so fun to me, and it really kind of brought a level of realism to these stories that we were missing. We kind of needed at that point.
Yeah. And it was cool seeing it all connect together and do what they were able to do with it in that time.
Kind of a smaller scale Avengers, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And we're back. After watching the first 2 episodes of this,
oh my gosh,
we're now seeing Matt having something very traumatic happen to him.
Matt Murdock is incredible, and
God's perfect punching bag.
Yeah, and he is just intimidating, and also suave at the same time, and
I love
his
that.
aura. He's got so much aura in this,
much charisma,
and as a lawyer as well, he really brings it in those courtroom scenes.
Oh yeah,
where you just are like,
he knows what he's doing.
He's a superhero in both worlds.
Yep.
You know, he's a vigilante Daredevil, and he's also
defending
people, which again, is one of those like ideals where it's like that's what we should be
as a people striving for
justice.
And then you see on the opposite side of that the absolutely intimidatingly powerful Wilson Fisk.
Yeah, Kingpin
taking position.
Not Kingpin right now.
No, he is mayor of.
He's
New
like,
York.
Don't call me that.
Yeah, he's mayor of New York, and he is taking power back.
Yes.
In a very impactful way. And again, there's some relevance to some very modern things in this story, and I'm glad that they're doing it. They're pushing that those stories because they are going to help us.
Yeah, and just you'll connect with it.
You're going to connect with it. I won't say too much about the plot of what's going on, but Matt is defending a vigilante character who was accused of a crime.
Right.
This is going to lead into
conflict
and a bill that's being passed, or a law that's going to be passed in New York to outlaw vigilantes even further. They're already
which
illegal.
is being headed by Wilson Fisk,
and it's going to crack down on all the vigilantes, which include a reference to
Spider-Man.
What? We are seeing Spider-Man in that street level New York superhero mantle is so exciting.
Please show up.
If he does, I'm going to lose my mind.
Yeah.
But that being said, we've got Daredevil that just came out. We've got Fantastic Four to look forward to, and Thunderbolts. Thunderbolts, I think, is going to be our sleeper hit.
And we just saw Captain America: Brave New World.
Very fun movie.
Very fun.
Very
fun. Love Red Hulk.
Harrison Ford went all in on his performance of Thaddeus Ross in that one, because he rocked.
Now I
role.
just want more Red Hulk.
I do.
I want to see him again.
We all want to see a little more Red Hulk. I think
it would be cool. I loved that movie. That was the one thing where at the end I was like, oh no,
yeah,
we
it's
don't
over.
get to see anymore.
I want to see more.
I want to see more Red Hulk.
And the relationship between Joaquin Torres and Sam Wilson as the new Falcon and Cap. I mean, really solidifying.
We're seeing
Sam.
the next generation of superheroes in the MCU beginning to step. We have, and so that's why whenever not, and I don't want to get too far into this bit,
sure,
but whenever folks might mention like, oh, nothing really happened in Phase 4, nothing's really been going on. The storytelling has been taking too long to get there. I'm like, well, we've been introduced to some major characters.
Let's just say Young Avengers.
Yeah, the Young Avengers.
They've all been being set up at this point.
They've been assembled.
Yeah,
they've been assembled.
And I from what we've seen, what we kind of heard, they're probably going to show up in Avengers Doomsday.
Yeah, if not even sooner.
Maybe sooner.
Who knows?
But FF has got me in a chokehold right now of excitement. I haven't been this excited when a trailer came out for a Marvel movie in so long. I get excited, but I remember, when the first, big movies of Marvel were coming out, Captain America, Thor, Iron Man, the first Avengers movie, when those trailers dropped, it was a frenzy. It was like, oh my God, we're so excited.
The point is, and this is, for myself, and I'm sure maybe you can agree on some. It is about seeing the characters.
It is.
And experiencing these stories and going along for the ride and the thrill ride of it, and just having that experience.
Oh, absolutely.
That's I think that's what's most important. That's what we take home when we leave the theater is like that emotional impact that it had with us and the implications for what's next. That's always been the most fun about Marvel
And say what you will about post-credit scenes, man. They really had me. I mean, they had us going for so long of just when they're done right. It not only puts some of them now are just jokes. Yeah. But when they're done right, they put a nice pin in the movie that you just saw.
Sure.
And they also tease what is to come in a really fun way, and we like that.
Comic books do the
that
same thing
all the time. Mm-hmm. Yep, comics do it all the time, and and DC is coming into its own. I feel like we're going to see DC Studios and DC movies and shows really begin to showcase how cool these characters are, because we have not been eating, and the
interactions that they all have with each other as well. There's so many interactions that we haven't got to see. I mean, we have, because there have been the CW universe did a lot.
They did a lot.
They did a lot.
It showed how these characters can all
so ambitious,
very much so for the CW at the time. Man, Arrow
went on for years. Everything went on for years. I remember going to Comic-Con when season 1 of Arrow was going to out.
Yeah.
And it was just like
the hype around
everyone,
high.
And there was no crisis coming up or Supergirl or anything. And then here we are.
You didn't even know about Flash.
What's crazy is now here we are on the other end of it, and it's over.
Yeah.
It's over.
That has wrapped up, and it was a huge part of our lives as comic book fans for so long.
Yeah.
But I think DC's going to bring it back. I'm excited for James Gunn's Superman.
Sure.
Just the fact that it looks so comic accurate. It looks like he cares so much about the design of the characters and the design of the world to bring it into the world of comics. Makes me so happy.
Yeah.
Nothing makes me happier as a comic book fan than seeing people who are passionate about comics making movies about comics.
Yeah, that's the best.
When I see someone or hear someone who's like, I'm making a comic book movie. I haven't read anything about it. I don't know, but I'm going to put my own spin on it. I want to make my own world. I'm like,
please don't.
Please don't.
Yeah.
That's not what we want.
Yeah.
We don't need your interpretation of this. We want to see as close to...
Let's give someone a shot who's out there who does care.
Because they're there.
And does know. And wants to do it in a way.
And when you see it, and when you see it, it's beautiful. That's where the real good movies and stories and shows come from, is people who are passionate about the characters in these stories.
Right. Absolutely.
But yeah, man, I think that's about all we got for today, for this episode.
Yeah, I mean, really, we could just keep going and pack it in.
And we will.
More and more. I mean, but that's why we're going to have more episodes.
More episodes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And hopefully shooting more content as well.
Yes.
That we can just... keep you guys updated on things that happen as they come up. We will have a pop-up with our YouTube channel, social medias, all that. So give us a like, follow. Share it, please. That's another big one.
Huge.
And tag us.
Yep, tag us and stuff. Show us stuff. Like if we miss something or we misquote something or whatever, please tag us in that, and we'll correct it or we'll figure it out.
We're going to be doing some fun giveaways as well in the future. That's something that we have planned, and we're going to be developing as we go on. So be on the lookout for that.
Yep.
We will make it known.
Oh yeah,
when it's available, when that happens.
We'll do fun segments, some trivia stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
We got a lot of good ideas. We just wanted to put this out as a kind of an introduction, get you guys excited at talking about this stuff, as well as just introducing ourselves.
Right. Totally.
But yeah.
Yeah, I think we nailed it.
Caleb the comic book Viking.
And
out.
Eli Smith. Catch you later.
Catch you later on the Hero Panel Podcast.
Hero Panel Podcast.
Catch you later on the Hero Panel Podcast.
Bye.